Hello, my name is Maggie Buman. I am the Executive Director here at the Shelby County Historical Museum, and I'd like to welcome you to Prairie Trails. On today's episode of Hearth and Heritage, we're bringing you another historic recipe from our log cabin kitchen. Bread was a staple in every home, and it would go stale quickly with all the preservatives that modern recipes have. Because they didn't want to waste anything, a lot of recipes were developed that utilized stale bread. French toast is one of the most common ones that we still see around today. Another one would have been bread pudding. This recipe was submitted by a student of Laurel 4th grade to their bicentennial cookbook, dedicated and donated to the museum in 1976. This recipe first calls for 3 cups of scalded milk. First thing you want to do for this recipe is scald your milk. Historically, scalding would have been most important for pasteurizing milk, killing off the bacteria. Nowadays, most milk you're going to find, especially in a store somewhere, is going to be already pasteurized. So this step isn't as necessary as it would have been, but if your recipe asks for scalded milk, it's likely for one of 3 other reasons. First reason is that scalding milk breaks down the whey proteins in the milk, which allows the yeast to rise, making fluffier breads and cakes. This is also a method that is used to infuse the milk with flavor, usually done by scalding it while you have something like a vanilla bean or a lemon rind in the milk. Or the third reason, which is the most important for this particular recipe, is it helps sugar and butter dissolve faster. It works best with cold milk. This recipe wants 3 cups. Add that to a saucepan. This works best with a wide flat saucepan because it helps the milk go faster with a wider surface area. Then you're going to heat that while stirring it until you have little bubbles forming around the outside, indicating that you're getting close to boiling. It's important not to actually boil the milk, but you want to get nearly there, around 180 degrees or so if you use a thermometer. And then as soon as you see those little bubbles forming, take it off the heat immediately, let it cool for about 10 minutes, and then you're good to go. So this should be about good. It's starting to look kind of foamy there, or little tiny bubbles, and we could go a bit longer, but we don't want it to start simmering or boiling, so we're going to cut it there. Now that we've scalded our milk, we're going to go ahead and add that to our greased pan. To that, we're going to add our diced bread. This recipe asks for 1.5 cups of stale bread. I find it works better with closer to 3 cups. And then while that's soaking, we're going to go over to our mixing bowl. We're going to need 3 eggs. And you want those to be beaten, which you can do with a fork or a whisk or an electric mixer. To that, you're going to add 1/2 cup of sugar, 1/2 teaspoon of salt, 1/2 teaspoon of cinnamon, and mix. You're going to add that to your bread mixture. Combine that just to help your egg and milk mix together so it forms more of a custard, and that flavor from the sugar and the cinnamon gets a bit more spread around. And then you're going to add about 1/2 cup of raisins. This recipe works without them, but they help add some texture and flavor. Just mix that together. Then you're going to put it in a larger pan and pour in some warm or hot water around that. This is called a water bath. It's useful in a lot of custard-based recipes because it helps the custard bake more evenly and gives a smoother, creamier texture. So just pour in enough water that it won't get into your main dish there with your pudding, especially as it boils in the oven. We'll be baking this in a moderate oven, which means around 375 degrees for about 45 to 50 minutes. There you have it, some good old-fashioned bicentennial bread pudding. Good served with some sort of cream. I chose ice cream this time to help beat the July heat. For more delicious recipes like this, check our Facebook or tune in next time. I hope you enjoy it as much as I do.